Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Sharon Spurlock with the Family Support Team at the St. Louis Arc. Welcome to our weekly Q&A, and today we're going to have a fun topic to talk about, staying healthy and safe while playing sports and recreation. There's a lot of sports leagues starting up now that the weather's nicer, and so we want to make sure that you've got some good tips and tricks to make sure that you are putting the right things in your body and then taking care of your body when you're out and about. I've got two great guests with me today from the St. Louis Arc. Welcome to Phajja Johnson and Alysha Broughton. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then we're going to start with a couple of presentations. So, Phajja, why don't you go first? Tell us, you haven't been on my show before, so I always have people talk a little bit about how long they've been at the Arc, and if you've got any Arc backstory or other professional experience you want to share or personal experience, you can just tell people anything you want to about yourself.
Okay, of course. Hi, my name is Phajja Johnson, and I am a leisure coordinator here at the St. Louis Arc. I am a certified recreational therapist, and I have been a recreational therapist since 2023. Outside of the Arc, I've worked in neuropsych, and I have a background in sports and recreation from college as well. So that's my background.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Alicia.
Hi, my name is Alysha Broughton. I am the Director of Nutrition here at the St. Louis Arc, and I'm also a registered dietitian. I've been at the Arc for about 8 years now. I started in in children's services, and I've been in adult services for almost 6 years. So fun times.
Yeah, Alicia's got a good transitional storyline. Thank you for joining us today. All right, Phajja, we're going to start off with your presentation about sports at the Arc so people know what their opportunities are.
Of course, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, perfect. So I wanted to talk to you all a little bit about just the benefits of sports and recreation. There are a ton of benefits that coincide being physically active, and these are just a few of them. You can improve your hand-eye coordination. Your mood typically improves when doing a physical activity. Your concentration improves, as well as sleeping habits and your balance. Recreation promotes holistic well being. So, getting to know yourself and knowing what your body likes, what your energy likes, your mental wellness. So, just being able to know how you're feeling mentally. It promotes positive social skills and sportsmanship. So building that confidence, building that those social skills with other people outside in the community. That's how you can promote those. And it also helps maintain your weight, reduce health risk, strengthen bones and muscles, and again, that balance aspect, preventing fall prevention. Overall, the ARC has about 20 different sports programs that are traditional and united that we offer year round. So, this screen right here shows you all of our wonderful sports that we have going on throughout the year. Programs that we offer are golf, walking club, traditional bowling, traditional and united softball, united soccer, united martial arts, and our united triathlon is offered as well during the spring and summer. Over in the fall is another big sports season with traditional bowling, traditional and united soccer, walking club, united pickleball, united martial arts, united kickball, and united softball. When it comes to the winter season, we kind of scale back a little bit on the sports because it's a little bit cold outside, but there's still sports going on, like our traditional bowling, our traditional and united basketball teams, our united pickleball, and our united soccer. So I mentioned that these are all of our sports year round. Soccer happens all year round as well as bowling. So those are our big all year round sports that happen. If all the other sports kind of happen either 1 or 2 seasons a year. And I have a couple questions that have been asked in the past. So I thought I'd give some answers to those. So, what's the difference between united and traditional sports? Our traditional sports are people that are participants at the ARC that have disabilities only. So anybody that is serviced through the ARC that has a disability can be on the traditional sports teams. Our United sports teams are people with and without disabilities on the same team. So if you know someone that wants to do a team outside in the community, United is where it's typically the best place to do that at. Our United leagues are typically out in the community, like our softball, we play in Shaw Park. Our soccer, we play at Veta Soccer Dome. Our kickball, we play at Tower Grove, and so on and so forth. So those United sports are the ones that are typically out in the community, while our traditional sports are with our art participants. Another question that has been asked: how do you register for these activities? On our SLARC website, if you go to the very top of the screen, it has a search bar. You can just search the word recreation, and that will take you to our online registration portal to register for any of these sports activities. Another question was: is there an age limit to join our sports? There is an age limit of you have to be an adult, so 18 and up for the majority of all of our ARC sports. A typical season for a ARC sport is about 6 to 8 weeks long, depending on the sport. And that is usually just one day a week. So if we had soccer, it would be one day a week on a Thursday for 6 to 8 weeks, depending on the session. Another question is: how much does it cost? So the majority of our ARC sports do cost $65 a person. And then next, are there activities to do year round? Yes, there are. There's a variety of sports, and I'm going to bring that screen back up to the variety of sports that we have through the spring, summer, fall, and winter. And last but not least, are there any financial assistance programs to participate in leisure programming? Yes, there are two different avenues you can take to receive financial assistance if you need. So, to participate in some of our leisure activities, we work with the Recreation Council, and you can get a Recreation Council voucher through the ARC. We can help you set that up. But the only way to get that voucher is if you attend 75% of that program. So, say a program costs $50, you would have to attend that program 75% of the time, and then you would only have to pay $5 of that whole amount. So, only 10% of that you would have to pay out of pocket. The rest of that would be taken care of via that rec voucher form. And we can walk you through how to apply to that. Another way for financial assistance, if you've already gone through the Rec Council or if you haven't, is reaching out to Rhonda Hembry, the Director of Leisure Services. Rhonda is over our Leisure Scholarship Program, and her information is on the screen right now. It's rhembry@slark.org or 314-817-2245 to further get some scholarship and financial assistance for any of our leisure programming.
We did have a question from our audience. How do you know if United or regular leagues would be best, and can you do both?
Yes, so you can do both United and traditional leagues. We typically would like to talk to a participant about their experience with that sport. So if you have experience in that sport, say it's soccer and you've been playing soccer for several years and you know the basics of soccer, I highly recommend doing the United side. The traditional side is more learning the basics of that sport, and it's more accommodating to different modifications to the game. So there are more modifications in the game in traditional side than there are in the United side as we play in leagues on the United side.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's a great answer. And I'll just say I have been a United sports player. I played the pickleball and I didn't know that much about it. It's a newer sport for us, so it was nice. I was able to learn the rules with friends from the ARC. And let me just share that I am not particularly sporty. So it was really a comfortable place for me to be and to try out a new sport. So, So I think it's also about who you want to be with on the field, whether you want to be in an affinity group or a diverse group. So thank you, Phasia. That's
Definitely.
awesome. All right, Alicia, it is all you now. We're going to talk about the nutrition of sports.
So we're going to talk about what nutrition you need for before your sports activity. So before you do your activity, how many carbohydrates do you need? We're going to aim between 50 and 300 grams of carbohydrates. And I know that seems like a big range, but honestly, it honestly depends on a lot of different factors. How often you do in that sport, the size of the person, the height of the person, how fast is their metabolism. So there are a lot of different things that can manipulate that number. That can be based off the intensity and the duration of your physical activity. And how many carbohydrates in that snack before you need to look at the total carbohydrates on that nutrition label in order to decide how much is in that, how many grams are in that snack to determine if it's a good snack for pre-sports nutrition. Some examples are toast and jam, a banana, peanut butter and jelly sandwich is one of my go-tos. I know somebody who loves applesauce packets, yogurt and granola because of the good protein in there. You'll also see on the bottom where it says hydration is just as important as food. So 2 hours before your sports activity, you want to make sure that your body is well hydrated, your muscles are well hydrated. You want to get at least 24 ounces of fluid. And then 15 minutes before your activity, you want to get some more hydration just to make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be, 8 to 16 ounces of fluid. So, what to eat before you go? So, 2 to 4 hours before your activity, before your game, you're going to eat a larger carb rich meal. That means some pasta, a sandwich with some fruit, a rice bowl, something like that, that is carb heavy. And then an hour to 30 minutes before your game, you're going to have a lighter, simple carb choice, meaning a banana, toast, applesauce, pretzels, something that's easier to digest, but still on the carb side. So, how much nutrients do you need for after your game? We're going to need at least 30 grams of carbohydrates 20 minutes after your game, and this is just to replenish the energy that you used during your sports activity. And here you're going to want to consume at least half the amount of carbohydrates in protein. So that's going to be 8 to 15 grams of protein, just to make sure you're speeding up your recovery, refueling your body, and making sure that you're getting back those storage that you had and that you used during your sports activity. So good options. People love to carry around chocolate milk. I like Greek yogurt and berries. Here again with your peanut butter and your banana. Something that has some carbohydrates and some protein are always great choices for snacks. It slows down how fast that sugar gets to your bloodstream and it keeps you fuller longer. Again, do not forget hydration. Here, we're going to plan for 16 to 48 ounces because during your sports event, we assume that you sweat more. So that's why there's a little more hydration after your sporting event. And for timing, so you're going to have a snack that has both carbohydrates and protein with 30 minutes to an hour after your game. So that's something that you keep in the car, something that your family member would have for you or your caregiver would have for you after the game. And then an hour to 2 hours when you get home, you'd have a balanced meal with a lean protein, a carbohydrate, a veggie, and some more fluid. So that you can replenish all those nutrients and all those stores that you had before your game. Okay, we did have a question about what does it look like when you overwork yourself? And I have a slide about what does it like to be overheated. And we're going to talk about the difference between heat stroke, heat exhaustion, and just being like exercising in the heat. So, what are the signs of being overheated? So, when you work out in the heat, you can normally feel your body temperature rising. And how can you cool down? You can drink water, you can calm yourself, you can stay in the shade, you can put a cool rag on your head. But when you start feeling your temperature rising, that is a time in order to take action because after that point, you will start getting more of these symptoms. So after you start feeling those symptoms, then you might get things like heat cramps. And that is when you have muscle cramps that occur because you're working out in the heat with your sweating that has reduced the amount of water in your body. So the first sign of overheating is not just losing that sweat, but also having those cramps while you're in the heat. And I'm sure we've all felt a little woozy when we're in the heat for too long. This is to the extreme. When you get to heat exhaustion, that is when you have excessive sweating. You start feeling clammy, you start feeling your body temperature is extremely elevated. Even skin becomes pale and dizzy. You might even be nauseous and your breathing might change. This is when the time you definitely want to get inside, you want to get some air conditioning, you definitely want to rehydrate. When things can get extremely dangerous. When you get to the heat stroke stage of things, this is when you need to call for immediate medical attention. The person is no longer sweating, your skin is still hot and red, but there's no sweat to be found. Fast heartbeat, and their person becomes confused and their breathing starts to become different. So these are the stages in which we need to be aware of, especially in the summertime. We're starting to get hot now, that we need to be aware when our body starts to change and we are working out in the heat. So please be aware, not just for yourself, but for the people that you're working out with, that these things can happen and can happen to anyone.
So much great information, you all. Thank you so much. We've got a lot of questions, and they kind of apply to both to you. So, if I can tell which person should answer, I'm going to go to you, but you can pass off to each other if you want to add anything more. So, the first one I'm going to just ask Alicia, what's the best way to track the carbs you mentioned to make sure the math is correct?
There are a couple of apps. Some cost, some don't. Some people like an app called MyFitnessPal. Some people like one that is called My Food Diary. But those are easy ways to make sure that you're eating the right amount of carbohydrates. Earlier, someone asked or submitted a question asking about macros and how many you should be eating. And that's kind of a difficult question to answer because we would have to do like some calculations of like how tall you are, how much you currently weigh, things of that nature. I can give you guys some general percentages, but it's kind of hard to say right off the top of my head, like for a general answer for everyone. So we can talk about macros. So macros are carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And those are the three percentages that we're often talking about when we're talking about making sure you're getting enough food. So for athletes, these numbers are a little higher in some areas and kind of lower in some areas just to make sure that your muscles have the energy that you need. So for carbohydrates, we're aiming between 45% and 60% of your daily calories because we want our bodies to have enough fuel in order to do those short exercises as well as those long exercises, endurance exercises. Underconsumption of carbohydrates can cause brain fog, constipation, fatigue, headaches, even decreased physical performance because your body does not have those storages of carbohydrates in order to do those fast bursts of energy. As far as proteins, we're looking between 20 and 30% of our daily calories. Overconsumption of protein, which protein is kind of a trend right now, overconsumption of protein can cause kidney strain, which can lead to kidney failure. It can also lead to osteoporosis. It can be stored as fat. So, overconsumption of protein can be stored as fat in your body. It can lead to constipation, sluggishness, and stomach pain or abdominal pain. Okay. And as far as fats, we're also looking at between 20 and 30% of our daily calories. Overconsumption of fats can lead to a risk of heart disease, high cholesterol, fatty stools, diarrhea, bloating, and also weight gain. So, like I said, these are percentages that we're looking at 45 to 60% of carbohydrates, 20 to 30% for proteins, and 20 to 30% of fats, but it honestly depends on a lot of factors. So this would be a question for your doctor or your dietitian to make sure that you're eating the right amount for yourself and make sure that you're not getting yourself constipated by eating too much of one thing.
I'm going to ask a follow-up question because
Okay.
I felt like on your slide, those examples you gave are in the range for
hmm
the amount of carbs that you want to eat. So if I'm typically eating, half a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or a banana and some nuts or whatever it's going to be, like you could have your own preferred snacks, know what those sizes are and know that that's your go-to before sports. So that might be easier for somebody that has trouble with the math of it all. I think it's easy to find those answers if you have access to technology and so forth. And if that's hard for you, just start putting together some everyday samples that somebody can help you support you to put together that you know that you need the sandwich or the piece of fruit, whatever it might be. One other question about food is, well, there are a lot of questions about food. Um, so when should I eat if I've got an 8 or 9 a.m. game and I'm not awake 4 hours before? Should they just have that morning snack then before the game?
I think a morning snack is good. So if your game is at 8, you should be drinking some water as soon as you wake up for sure, and you should eat within an hour. So if you're waking up at 7, you should eat something and drink something in that first hour that you're awake for sure. And you should eat, some carbs and to fuel your body for that early morning game.
Yeah, and I think that's hard for somebody. Some people are not like they don't want to eat first thing in the morning. They'd rather just have a cup of coffee and go. And you can do that, but it's not really setting yourself up for success. So,
Yes.
if you're not really into food, is there a way to make it easier to get some of that in?
I often tell people if your eyeballs are open, you should be hungry. So that should be a warning sign. But you can always try easy things like applesauce pouches or one of the things that were on the list. The peanut butter sandwiches were something on the list. You can also do things like nuts that are easy to have that you don't have to refrigerate. You don't have to think about getting them out of the refrigerator. So, like you said, set yourself up for success. I'm not really a morning person. So I try to get things that are easy to grab on the way out of the house, rice crackers, rice cakes, things of that nature that I don't have to refrigerate or think about how to heat up. So those kinds of things, when you go to the grocery store, think about easy to grab items of that nature.
Love that answer. Phasia, does the ARC provide snacks after games or during games, or is that up to the athlete and their families?
That is typically up to the athlete and their families. We do typically bring water, but that's about it. We try to encourage you guys to bring your own water and your own snacks because everyone tends to have different dietary needs and wants.
Yeah, I think I've seen the big jugs of water at all of your sports events, so I think you're really good about that. But a lot of us need to drink a lot of water. So I just don't go anywhere without my handy water bottle. So plan to bring your water bottle with you, mark your name on it so you know where it is, and you'll always have enough. Another question's about hydration. I'm not sure who which of you wants to answer this, but should I drink Gatorade or water? What's the better way to hydrate?
That's a great question. So Gatorade was developed for athletes. It is to help replenish that salt and those electrolytes that you're using during sweat. You're losing during while you're sweating. So as long as you don't have any heart conditions or you're not in a you're on a salt restricted diet, Gatorade is totally fine while you're sweating. But it's not necessarily something that you want to drink all around the clock. It is definitely something to be used while you're in that sports time. So if while you're sweating, that is definitely something you can drink as long as you don't have any of those issues going on.
I'm really glad you said sweating because I have been guilty of the person that says I'm exercising, but mostly what I'm doing is standing on the sideline chit-chatting. So, if any of you are like me, don't fool yourself that you're exercising hard enough to drink Gatorade unless you're really working up a sweat, maybe you're a little bit out of breath. Those are good things. You want that to happen to really get some cardio effect from it. So we might all work on that a little bit.
Yes, it's
Um,
definitely not Gatorade. A lot of those electrolytes are very popular right now. They have Gatorade, they have Liquid IV. There's a couple that are really popular, and a lot of people are drinking them, like I said, just to have that flavor in their water. But I want to make sure people know that that has a lot of salt in it. So if you're not in need of salt, if you're not sweating, that may not be the best choice. And I would definitely encourage you to add fruit to your water, add fresh herbs to your water, add lemon to your water if you need something to make it more flavorful. But drinking extra salt when you don't need it can cause strain on your body for sure.
that's such a great suggestion. I always feel really fancy if I put some cucumber slices or a lemon or a strawberry in my water. So I like that idea. We talked about the heat a little bit earlier, Phasia. What is the policy of the ARC about having outdoor sports when it gets hot?
So if it is too hot, say I think it's at the 90-degree mark, traditional sports will not perform for the day. Our United Sports that are out in leagues in the community such as softball, it is up to that league to decide if we are canceling or not. I typically would reach out to all the participants and families, letting them know about the increased weather and let them know that we are waiting to hear from whatever the facility says. If they say that we are good to play, then we're good to play. If not, they'll let us know.
I will say too, I think that we're pretty good about not pushing athletes beyond their
Limits.
abilities. If people need to take a break because they feel like they're starting to get too hot, I think your coaches are really good about that. Have the coaches, what kind of orientation they get to look for things like starting to get heat exhaustion?
Yeah, so our coaches are trained to know uh, what it looks like for our participants that may need extra attention outside, making sure that they are not being overworked, and making sure that they're getting plenty of breaks in water as well. So yes, that is a very big push that we do for our coaches, is making sure that they know that their participants are safe during the activity.
I'll also let our audience know that some of our coaches have been coaching for 20 and 30 years. So these are people that know their athletes quite well, especially returning athletes. So I really trust them to be cautious with people, but also to push people when they need a little bit of a push, which is what you're looking for in a great coach.
Definitely.
Okay, Alicia, how can I get a dietitian?
That is a great question. So there are several websites that will tell you if they take your insurance. So you can always call your insurance and ask if they have nutrition services that they cover. You can ask your doctor for a referral, or you can go through companies like Nourish, Berry Street. They also offer nutrition services, and double check that they take your insurance. I think, of course, I'm biased. Dietitian services are important, and everybody should have access to talk to somebody about the habits that they have and ask someone how to add, a little fruit here, a little fiber here, just to make sure that they're getting all the nutrients that they need to make sure that their life is running with the way it's supposed to go.
There's another question that came up because we talked about putting fruit in the water. Is there a specific thing to put in your water that's the best, or is it just variety is the spice of life?
I think variety is the spice of life. I am actually allergic to a lot of fruit, so unless you're allergic to something, I think, go for the gold. People really like mint and lemons, or basil and watermelon, cucumbers and limes. So there's a lot of great combinations out there. I'm sure if you typed in infused water into Google, you can come up with all kinds of good options and things that you would typically, get in the freezer section or even in the fresh produce section that you could totally put in your water bottle. But anything that's your favorite fruit, mine is probably blackberries, and I can totally put blackberries in my water bottle and be content. Um, I would suggest trying a couple and see what you think.
I think we got one more question that came in. Is the flavor water such as Mio Mayo okay to use for water? I was going to ask that too, because sometimes I think people think they're getting hydrated with soda or coffee, and the caffeine can really throw off hydration.
I don't know about Mio explicitly, but I want people to be mindful about sugar substitutions, just like we talked about the salt content of the Gatorade. When you're adding something to your water that we don't really know what's in it, we just have to be mindful that it might have, sugar substitutions, and might have sugar alcohols, things of that nature that might affect how we perform. It might affect our stomachs. It might give us diarrhea if we're doing too much activity. So we just want to be mindful that these things could affect us negatively if we are, that we don't know or not mindful of. So I would err on the side of caution and add the fruits that we were talking, fruits and vegetables, as long as the cucumbers that we're talking about. Not to say there's anything wrong with like the Mios or the Crystal Light, because we use the Crystal Lights here at Dautel, but I would err on the side of caution of using them frequently and using them, every day.
All right. We have gone a little bit over time. So I want to just thank both of you for joining me today. It's been really fun to have this conversation, and I like having the combo of recreation and nutrition at the table together. It's been really fun. Thank you both. Have a
Thank
great week,
you.
everybody.